Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Natalia Leigh. I'm an indie author and the managing editor at Enchanted Ink Publishing. And today we're starting a mixture of an editing / writing vlog and a Q&A. So I put out a call for questions, I don't know, a couple weeks ago maybe, and I got quite a few questions. I have a document here with all of your questions written down, and I figured we could vlog and answer those questions kind of sprinkled throughout the vlog. So that is what we're going to do. Today is Wednesday, April 30th, and I am currently in the process of revising my cozy academia novel. So the last time I touched base with you, I had just finished the first draft, I believe, and I was about to start the second draft. And I gave myself a 3-week window of time in which to finish that second draft. I have since already finished it. I finished the second draft in about 2 weeks, and I did that specifically because I wanted to have extra time to do a third draft, and I'm realizing now that I want to give myself even more time than that. So to kind of briefly get you caught up, this book is coming out June 3rd. It's coming out in collaboration with 10 other cozy, spicy romance books, so I don't have the ability to move this deadline at all. This book has to be out June 3rd. I'm also doing more arcs this time around, so because I already have my arc sites set up, this book needs to be done and ready for arc readers by May 14th. So we have, today's the 30th, so we have exactly 2 weeks to get this book ready for arc readers. What I thought was going to happen was that I would have this book done by this coming Sunday, do a proofread over, the course of 2 weeks or 12 days or something like that, and then have it done and ready for arc readers. But I think I'm going to actually revise that a little bit. And what I'm going to do, I think, is take the next 2 weeks to do a true full extra pass on this, a third draft, and then once that's done, I'll hand it over to Greg to get the formatting done for the arc readers, and then that will be, I'll probably just put like a little note or like disclaimer in the beginning of the book that says, this is an unproofed copy, because that's pretty typical for arc copies. They're not always in their final form. So I could do that, get the unproofed copy out to arc readers, and then I'd have 2 weeks to do my final proofread and to get the files all totally finalized and ready for upload. And that will give me an additional 2 weeks with this book, and I think I need it. I am feeling at this point like the issue I used to have has totally switched. I used to have a problem with conflict, and my books were quite slow and kind of drifting, I think is how I've described them. And what I've noticed recently is that I've really kind of gone to the other extreme in that my books move very quickly, and I have to then go back through during revisions and slow them down, add details, and allow the world to really expand. And this book, I think, is struggling with that. And what's funny is that this is now my longest pen name book. It's sitting at 79,142 words, so I am almost there at 80K, and this is probably going to get even longer. In my first round of revisions, I ended up adding 2 chapters, and then when I read through that chunk of chapters yesterday, I realized that I think I need at least 1 or 2 more chapters in that little area, because there's a little bit of like an enemies to lovers dynamic going on, and I think they move much too quickly through the enemies phase and then start becoming kind of neutral acquaintances, and then they start moving into the lovers territory, and I would like to slow that down a little bit. And I'd also like to get a bit more time with our side characters in these chapters. We definitely have side characters who are around, but I want to slow down, get to know them a little bit more, and just further expand on this world. And I think this will allow me to feel way more confident in this book, because I have been feeling like this was such a fast process. because for anybody who doesn't know, I wasn't planning on writing this book right away, but I got invited to collaborate with 10 other authors, and it was such a wonderful opportunity, and I didn't want to pass it up. And I'm really grateful that I said yes to this opportunity. I've had the chance to kind of chat with and get to know 10 other authors in the cozy spicy romance world, and it's been a really lovely experience so far. So I'm really glad I said yes to this. It's just been a lot of work on my plate on top of quite a few editing projects. I finished up a short copy edit yesterday, and I'm still working on a big proofread. The manuscript is well over 200,000 words for this proofread, so it's just been a big one. But I am in a really good place with that, and as of today, I am on that proofread specifically. I don't have any other projects overlapping with it, so that will simplify my schedule a little bit, because I mean, over the past couple weeks, I was working on a manuscript critique and the proofread, and then a short copy edit in the proofread, but now that all that's done, I'm just focusing on that proofread. So yes, this is where I'm at. I'm having my second cup of coffee. It's been a beautiful morning. Greg and I are very excited because as of today, we saw that a little bird couple has moved into one of the birdhouses we put up this winter. So I've been staring out the window all morning watching them, and they're outside. Their birdhouse is outside the office window, so I have a feeling I'm gonna be getting pretty distracted trying to watch them. But welcome to the vlog. Thank you for being here. Let's go ahead and quickly answer one of the questions off of the Q&A. And I will put all the questions down below in the navigation so that you can click around to the different questions if you'd like. Okay, so I'm gonna answer probably the easiest one right now, and I got a few questions about this, and that is, do I have any update on Whiskey City or any of my other Pistol Daisy books? And the fact that I got a couple questions about this really warms my heart, because it makes me smile to know other people care about Daisy as much as I do. At this point, I have not returned to Whiskey City just yet. I want to say it was about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, that I totally re-outlined Whiskey City, because I realized that even though I had done, I don't know, 2 drafts of that book at that point, it wasn't right. Like, the timeline wasn't right, the action wasn't right, it just felt really clunky and forced to me. So I did totally re-outline Whiskey City, and then I outlined most of book 3 and some of the big plot points of book 4. So that is still where those books are sitting. And as soon as I do have an update on Whiskey City or on that Pistol Daisy series, you guys will be the first to know. So that was the kind of easiest question to answer. The rest of these have, a lot of them have like multiple questions, and I want to be able to sit and really talk to you about them. But I only have 30 minutes before I need to get started on my actual editing work for the day. So I'm gonna go ahead, enjoy my second cup of coffee, get into my actual book for the next 30 minutes, and then I will touch base with you later and we will answer some more questions. So welcome to the vlog, thank you for being here, and I hope you enjoy it. Hello friends, happy Friday. It is Friday, May 2nd. Happy May. I have finished up EIP work for the day. It is 3 p.m. and I was just about to do a little exercise, then I'm gonna go outside and do some horse stuff. But first I wanted to sit down and answer maybe a couple more questions. I have not worked on my book yet today. I got just a very slow start this morning. So by the time I kind of got settled in at my desk, I needed to go ahead and get started on EIP things. So I have not worked on my Cozy Academia project today. It is currently sitting though at 80,556 words in this third draft. So I think I'm pretty sure I added words after I talked to you last. I wrote a whole another chapter, and I don't think I had done that yet when we last talked. So the new chapter I added is 1,307 words. Hey Sasha, you can come in. You can come in. The door is open for you, darling, look. You can't yell the whole time though. I have to be able to talk. Sasha's very chatty, so she might just be talking for a while here. But anyway, yes, I'm sitting at 80,566 words. And now that I have finished up that new chapter, I am just proceeding forward. I'm going to keep reading through this, and I'm essentially going to spend as much time on it as I can until it needs to be formatted and go out to ARC readers. So that's where I'm at with that. I am probably going to work on it tonight, probably have some dinner, maybe a cup of tea, sit down and work on my book since I didn't get to work on it this morning. So this question is, are you publishing wide or are you exclusive to Amazon/KDP? Recently, I've been striking out with indie authors due to being Amazon exclusive, which I understand, but I don't have the extra money to spend right now. And I love reading through my library first if I can. My thoughts. Number one, yes, right now I am Amazon exclusive. That's for both my paperbacks, hardcover, and ebooks. For my new series that I'm starting, I want to go wide with my physical copies, but I am still planning to be KDP exclusive with my ebooks because KU does really well for me. Month after month, KU is my leading source of book income. So at this point, I am not interested in taking my books elsewhere. I understand that not everybody wants to shop Amazon. I get it. I mean, I'm not a big fan of corporations, believe me. But for my ebooks, Amazon just provides me what I need. In terms of reading through your library first, I do know that KDP has expanded distribution now. I don't know exactly the ins and outs of that or who can buy through expanded distribution or how that works, but I can tell you that consistently every month I am selling physical paperbacks through KDP's expanded distribution. I don't know where they're going. I don't have that type of data or information, but I do know that usually when that expanded distribution comes through, they are large purchases. I might see, 15 paperbacks sold in a day, but that's through expanded distribution. And you can tell it's expanded distribution, one, because you can see that in the data, but two, because I make a very small amount of money on expanded distribution. So I do believe that libraries and booksellers can purchase now through expanded distribution on KDP. That's actually one of the biggest reasons I went through Ingram when I was publishing Song of the Dryad, is because I wanted expanded distribution, but then I also wanted a hardcover with a dust jacket. Nowadays, I don't bother with Ingram Spark. I don't like Ingram Spark, and the fact that KDP seems to be kind of expanding into that expanded distribution is really wonderful. But like I said at the beginning, with my new Cozy Academia series, I will be publishing the paperbacks wide and then just sticking with Amazon exclusive so that I can be part of Kindle Unlimited because it does do really well for me. This is kind of a fun question too. I saw that you're starting to share your face on your pen name's Instagram account after finding it months ago. You don't have to share your pen name, but what gave you the confidence to share your face? So for anyone who doesn't know, I chose for at least a year, maybe over a year, to keep my pen name Instagram totally anonymous. Like, unless you recognize my backgrounds, which some people might, the green walls, and I have like the cow photos in my living room, like I was taking book photos in front of those. But I did kind of recently, maybe over the last couple months, decide to start showing my face on social media. And it's not necessarily that I needed the confidence to do it, because I am really comfortable sharing my face on social media. I've been here on YouTube for a decade almost. I want to say I've been on YouTube for over 10 years. I think I hit the 10-year mark back in January. So I am used to having my face out there. I'm not nervous about it. It was really for me just trying to separate YouTube audience from spicy romance readers, because I didn't, and there's a lot that goes into that. I will post down below a couple of videos that you might find interesting if you're interested in learning more about why I picked a pen name, how the process went as I was starting fresh, how difficult it was to get started on social media. I have 2 videos that I can think of off the top of my head that I'll link down below. But I pretty much kind of got to this point where I decided that even though I haven't publicly shared my pen name here, I'm not trying to hide it necessarily. I do have reasons why I haven't yet shared it here. One, and potentially the biggest, being that I don't want Amazon's algorithms to get confused about who my target audience is. Because if readers from here, from YouTube, who aren't really romance readers, decide to go and buy my books and decide to try them, and you know, they want to support me, I would of course be incredibly grateful for that. But on the off chance that it does start playing around with Amazon's algorithm, I could then be in a little bit of a difficult situation where they don't know who to be showing my books to, and then I could have a harder time selling my books. So that's definitely, at this point, the biggest reason why I haven't just come right out with it, and it's because I'm trying to separate those readerships because of Amazon's algorithm. And all that to say, therefore, if you are somebody who has found me, and I know that there are quite a few people at this point who have, because I have talked with a few of you, I'm starting to see familiar faces following me and, you know, commenting and kind of engaging, which is really quite exciting. So if you are somebody who has found me, it's not that I am trying to necessarily hide. You know, you're welcome to share my stuff if you'd like. It's just that I'm trying to keep YouTube specific readers, like authortube readers, distinct from romance specific readers. Not that romance readers can't read anything else, but you get my drift. So yeah, that's why I made the decision. I just said, you know, I don't want to carry on this big thing of constantly trying to hide and, oh, am I putting out too much information? Like, I am proud of that pen name. I'm proud of the books that I've been publishing. I mean, here in June, I'm going to be publishing my 9th book. I've been working really hard, and I'm proud of the books I'm putting out, and I don't want to hide all of that just because of YouTube. Now, granted, there are many people who have many reasons for not wanting to show their face on social media, and they're all valid, and I totally get it, but I just started to decide that if somebody kind of comes across me and they realize, hey, that's Natalia Leigh from YouTube, I'd like to go ahead and, you know, see what she's up to, then I want you to be able to do so, and I don't want you to have to like dig through hundreds of posts to try to figure out if it's me or not. So thank you for that question. But yeah, I am now posting my face on my pen name Instagram. Okay, let's do maybe one more. I am having fun with these though. It's been a long time since I did a Q&A, I feel like. Let's see, how do you write so fast without falling into writer's block? Now, this is a question I have been asking myself over the past, I don't know, year and a half as I've been writing a lot. I think there are a couple things going on. I think that one, I have written a lot of books at this point. I mean, I'm on number 9 with my pen name. I published 4 before that, so 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You know, I had written Whiskey City, I had written Fire Tongue. Like, I think I'm at about 15 books now that I have written. So I've been through the process many times, and even though some books are more challenging to write than others, I would say that one of the reasons I can write fast is because I've just learned how. I've learned what my voice is. I've learned how I like to structure my sentences. I've learned how I like to structure my scenes, and that's definitely a big part of it. You practice something enough and you do it enough times, you just become more efficient at it, I think. The second thing is that I got into a good routine. I think routines can be incredibly helpful. And for my last 2 books, book 4 in my cozy kind of cottagecore quartet, and then this book that I'm working on now, I had really tight deadlines for those. So I couldn't slip up. Like, I had to make sure I was staying on track with my word count goals every day. So this is also like routine and deadlines. Some people work well under deadlines, under pressure and with deadlines, and I'm definitely one of those people. Outside pressure, like having a pre-order up and knowing that people have pre-ordered your book or my book, that helps me a lot because I know it's not just me. I know that somebody else is out there, they have ordered the book and they are waiting for it to come out and they want it to come out on that release day. So having the routine of my routine was writing 2,000 words a day, and I was doing that between morning and evening writing sessions usually. So the routine, the deadline, just, you know, doing it over and over and over and getting a lot more efficient at it. Those are things that really help. And then outlining. So I will fall into moments of writer's block if I do not know where I'm going. That is the biggest hurdle for me, and that's the biggest kind of roadblock that I hit. And that's the number one thing that gives me writer's block, is if I sit down and I look at my outline and I realize I didn't outline this scene, or, you know, I outlined so vaguely that I really am not sure what I'm doing here, and then I can easily just get stuck because I don't have a roadmap. So those 4 things help me a lot. I'm grateful that I don't struggle with writer's block all that often. It has really become something that I have learned how to manage personally for myself and within my kind of writing routines and how I like to do things. So I think if you're struggling with it, you know, keep trying different things, keep persevering, keep writing, write as many books as you can. And that has probably been the biggest thing that has really helped me learn how to just navigate and go either right around the writer's block or, you know, get a door in it and just walk right through it. So that's that question answered. I think at this point, I'm gonna go ahead and exercise. I wanna go outside with the horses a little bit because it's actually above 50 degrees today. I'm in a tank top, it's amazing. And then maybe I'll touch base with you later tonight when I'm sitting down to work on my book. Good morning, everybody, and happy Tuesday. I apologize for the glare in my glasses. It's just what it is. That's like my only light source. Anyway, it is Tuesday, May 6th. I don't think I've checked in with you since Friday. I don't know if I even worked on my book this weekend. I might have, but this past weekend was absolutely beautiful. We had really nice weather. It was in the low 60s, well, like upper 50s, low 60s. Greg and I went down into town. We picked up some wood. I built another garden box for the garden this year. That was on Saturday, and then on Sunday I worked to start filling it with composted manure, or like partially composted manure, hay, some tree clippings, stuff like that. And it's maybe halfway filled right now, and now it is snowing. We're having a mini May blizzard. It might turn into a full blizzard though. We do typically get a really big blizzard in May. So they're saying we might get another 8 to 9 inches today, but we'll see. We have maybe 3 or 4 inches on the ground already, and it's really heavy, wet snow. But anyway, I don't know if I worked on my project this weekend. I cannot remember. I did work on it yesterday, on Monday, and things are definitely coming along. I am going to go ahead and get it pulled up here. I'll tell you what my word count is currently. I feel like my changes are becoming smaller and smaller as I'm kind of making my way through this pass. The main like threads that I needed to work on tying through and cleaning up a little bit, those were mostly happening in the beginning of the book, or at least the first third maybe. Things like further establishing and developing side characters, you know, further introducing them to readers, getting into that academy environment, things like that, you know, again, kind of like the periphery or those side details that are not the main story, but they are important in terms of supporting the main story and giving the readers a full experience. So that was primarily happening in the first kind of chunk of the book, and I am past that now. Okay, so I'm currently working on chapter 22 out of, gosh, I forget how many chapters. I've had to change the chapter numbers twice. So how many chapters are there, plus the epilogue? So plus the epilogue, we've got 46 chapters, and I'm working on chapter 22, so I'm not quite halfway through. And I really only have until this weekend to continue working on this, because then it needs to get formatted and it needs to be ready for ARC readers by the 14th. So the 14th is next Wednesday. So depending on how long it takes Greg to format this, and I'll probably be doing it as well because he is slammed with formatting work right now. So it'll probably take at least, I want to say at least 3 days, because I don't even have like a design picked out for this book. I have some ideas for it. I do have like a scene break symbol that I've already picked out for the quartet. But there will be excess time going into setting up the InDesign file, picking out the designs, picking out, you know, the fonts and such that I want to use. Granted, the cover is done, so I'll probably be pulling fonts and elements from the cover, but all that to say, it'll probably take me at least 3 days, and I want it done probably on the 13th, so that on the 14th, I can get that going. Actually, I might need it sooner than that. Okay, I actually need these ready by the 12th. So that means that I have no wiggle room in terms of pushing this out. I really do need to get this formatted this weekend. So I really have like 4 days left to work on this. I don't expect that I'm going to be able to read the whole thing, but I am a lot more comfortable with how the book wraps up versus how I felt about that beginning chunk. And I will still be doing a proofread on this, so it will still be getting another full pass. That will just be, you know, the last minute things and formatting review and, you know, bad breaks, hyphenation, that kind of stuff versus actual story. But at this point, I'm working on chapter 22 and I'm sitting at 81,320 words. So this book has grown for sure. I mean, it's over 81,000 now, and that's without front or end matter. But yeah, it is 8:30 exactly. I'm gonna get started on this. I made banana bread this morning, so it took me a little bit longer to get into the office and sit down, but I'm gonna dive in. I'm gonna have my second cup of coffee, and I will check in with you in a little bit. Hello friends, and happy Friday. Today is Friday, May 9th, and I am drawing so close to having to be done with my book so that Greg and I can get it formatted and it can go out to ARC readers this coming week. I have not yet written today or edited today, but I do know what my goal is for the day. I need to rework one chapter. It's a chapter that occurs in the library in the academy, and it's a conversation between two characters. And that conversation, I have discovered, feels kind of repetitive because a similar conversation happens many chapters later. So I think what I'm going to do is rework that conversation and then shift it slightly so that we get more of the school environment and more of like a classroom environment, and with my characters practicing their magic. And that is going to tie a few more plot threads through that I realized I hadn't really successfully woven through as I've been kind of finishing up my third draft. So that's where I'm at in terms of this book. Like I said, I've not yet written today. It is 1:30. Today was an EIP focused day. I finished that big proofread that I was working on. It was an absolutely fantastic read. I loved it. I sent that off to the client this morning, and now I'm going to be starting a copy edit on Monday for a different client. So I still need to get their contract out. I got a couple other contracts out today. So it was a pretty full work day, but mostly admin work. And like I said, I've not yet gotten to my project for the day, but I do need to do that because there's quite a lot that I need to revise in that chapter. And I also just recently hit 82,000 words in this draft, so this book is just slowly creeping up and creeping up and creeping up and getting longer and longer. But before I dive into that, I wanted to answer a few more questions from my Q&A. This is kind of becoming mostly a Q&A video, I think, but we'll see once I edit all the footage together because I've been filming for a while. So the next question is, I would love to hear your author goals and dreams specifically for your new pen name. So I did sit and kind of think on this one for a while, and I feel like the first thing that popped into my mind was probably financial, like financial goals, and that's certainly a part of it. I wrote down, there are a lot of questions in this document, and there are some that I went through and did like bullet point answers for, because I wanted to collect my thoughts before I sat down. So one thing I wrote down was making a stable side income for my family. I think that is a goal for many people who want to make writing their living. I am very grateful to love the work that I do and to have Enchanted Ink Publishing and to have so many fantastic clients. So in terms of income, I don't need my books to do the heavy lifting. I do have a full-time job and I love that full-time job, and I don't have the intention of leaving that business anytime soon. So I would say that a goal would be to make kind of a stable side income, the type of income that would allow us to do some nice things for the horses, an income that would allow us to maybe make some updates to our home, you know, that the home needs. So just that little bit of excess money on the side that you're able to use to do a couple of fun things. That would be definitely a goal. That definitely is a goal that I'd say that I'm striving for. But financial goals, I'm finding, are quite difficult to achieve with books because so much has to go into it. There are so many variables. It's not so simple as just saying, I'm going to work more hours and be able to put this money away and suddenly I have this income. There is just so much that goes into it. Like I said, many variables. So I am hoping to be able to have that stable side income. And then the two other kind of dreams and goals that I came up with, number one is to attend my first author reader event. I recently learned of an event that is held in Colorado Springs every year. And my husband and I live, we don't live in the Springs, we live a distance outside of the Springs, but it's close enough that it would make for a perfect venue, like a perfect first time venue for me since I've never been to an author reader event. And at least I wouldn't have to fly anywhere, I wouldn't have to drive like many hours to get somewhere. So I would like to do my first ever author reader event. I am keeping my eye on this one specifically because I think they just recently had their event. I actually learned of it through a few EIP clients who were posting about it on Instagram. I had no idea those clients even lived in Colorado, let alone the Colorado Springs area. So that was really fun to see them there with their books. So it's possible that I could even meet some EIP clients. So I do want to strive to go to my first author reader event. I think it would be scary, but also so much fun. And then the third goal that I was able to come up with is to eventually have special editions of my books. I would love to do special editions of the vampire, like historical vampire romance trilogy that I have. I think that one would be perfect to kind of combine that trilogy into one box set or one kind of omnibus special edition. And then I'd really like to do special editions of my cottagecore quartet. Those books, I am really happy with those books. They're cozy and they're quaint and they've got a little bit of spice and some magic and they're whimsical and fun, and I just love those books. So it'd be lovely to get like the whole package deal, you know, special edition cover. I want the edge work, I want the foiling, I want the full illustrations, like I want all the things. And I'm seeing all these people who are making special editions of their books and they are gorgeous and so much fun. And I'm not quite there yet because I know that it's going to take a lot of energy, time, focus, researching, learning to figure out how to do this and how to hopefully do it successfully. And I'm not yet at a place where I have that kind of flexibility in my schedule and in my brain to start planning something like that. But yeah, definitely author goal / dream, special editions. So stable side income, author reader events, and special editions of my books. Okay, the next one I'm going to answer, this is a multi-part question, but I'm going to start with just the first question that was asked. And that is, how do you fight procrastination? Is it just the fact that you're super excited to write that makes you sit down and write, or is it something else? So I answered this kind of in that previous question about, what was it about? About how I write so fast without falling into writer's block. I would say that procrastination kind of falls within that, like under that umbrella. But what I wrote down when I was thinking about this and thinking about procrastination for me, deadlines. I have gotten really, really used to deadlines over the last 5 years with my editing clients. It is very important to me to hit deadlines. It's important for me that my entire editing team is hitting their deadlines. That's just something that I hold in very high regard. And I do treat my own books the same way. I put up those pre-orders. I have a strict deadline for the pre-orders. I know how much time I need for ARC readers. I know how much time I need for formatting all those sorts of publication items. And that dictates how often I need to write. It dictates how much I need to be writing whenever I'm sitting down to work on my books. It dictates the entire kind of schedule for me. And I know that that's not something that's going to work for everyone. I know that there are people who have, you know, like deadline anxiety almost, where if you know that you have this looming deadline, you're kind of shutting down and you're not able to work as effectively or as efficiently. So deadlines might not work for everybody, but I am someone who loves them. I just really kind of thrive on that type of structured, I thrive on a structured environment, and I thrive on a structured work schedule, both for EIP and for my own books and creative projects. So I'd say that deadlines are probably the number one thing that help me with procrastination, because otherwise, if I had nobody holding me accountable, if I didn't have my Amazon, you know, pre-orders holding me accountable, then I could just kind of be wishy-washy about my writing. And each day I could say, well, do I feel like writing today? And oftentimes, no. There are definitely, you know, times and moments where I'm feeling inspired and I have the muse and I want to sit down and work. But that usually doesn't last very long. I typically get very excited for the outlining process because I can just listen to music and brainstorm and brain dump and start putting all of my ideas together. And that is a lot of fun for me. So I really look forward to that. And sometimes I do use that to avoid actual writing work. But when it comes to actually writing my books, even though I love writing, it is hard. And many times I sit down and think, I don't really feel like doing this. Emotionally, I'm not like, yes, I just really want to sit down and write today. And yet those deadlines get me into my chair, they get the document pulled up, and then once I sit down and I start working, that's where the emotional element of it kind of kicks in for me. Because once I start, then I settle in and I typically start really enjoying the process. But getting myself to sit down and open the laptop, that can be tough. And deadlines are what get me into the chair at least 5 days a week, sometimes 7 days a week, like I've been doing recently, to hit the deadlines, specifically the deadline that is looming over me right now, which is what I mentioned before I started answering the questions in this clip. So yeah, in terms of procrastination, my number one thing, having deadlines that are not flexible, because it forces me to get my work done, whether I feel like working or not. Okay, I'm gonna answer one more question, and it was the second one from like the second part of this question. And I didn't write anything down for this one because I wanted it to just kind of be, you know, very natural. And the question is, doom scrolling. Do you suffer from it? And if so, how do you combat it? And I think it is so poignant that you asked this as the second part of your question, when the first part of your question was, how do you handle procrastination, or do you struggle with procrastination? I watched a video maybe a month or two ago from a fellow author-tuber. I'm not going to say who it was, but she was talking about how, you know, she was very kind of heartfelt and vulnerable and emotional in this video, talking about how she wanted so badly to write, but was really, really struggling to bring herself to do it. She just could not find it within herself to sit down and write. And yet she followed that up with saying that she could easily, you know, lie in bed or sit on the couch scrolling through TikTok for multiple hours a day. So I am somebody who, no surprise, I've talked about this many times in the past, I'm not a social media person. Apart from YouTube, I tend to be a very private and introverted person. I've definitely found my place here on YouTube, and I've been able to open up and, share my journey. But apart from that, I'm very introverted. I don't share a whole lot about my life, even with people who are kind of close to me. Like, it takes a lot to kind of get into that personal, vulnerable place with me. So that might be one of the reasons that I'm not very keen on social media. But I also find that when I engage on social media, specifically TikTok or Instagram, it doesn't make me feel good. I try to have a high level of awareness of myself and my mental health especially, and I know that when I sit down on those social media platforms, even if I'm originally sitting down with the goal of, hey, I'm going to post for EIP today, or I'm going to go through and I'm going to interact with our clients' books, it's very easy then to get sucked into that consistent scroll. And we all know that these social media platforms do that on purpose because they want to hijack our attention, and they're very good at it. So when I sit down on Instagram, I'm not doing it, and I say Instagram because I have completely backed away from TikTok. I no longer use it because I don't like it, and I didn't feel that it was good for me. I never got off of TikTok with a smile on my face feeling like, oh, I'm so energized and happy and excited for my day. It made me feel really drained, and I didn't like that feeling. So I don't use TikTok anymore. I do still use Instagram, both for the business and for my pen name. And something that helps with slowing down that like never-ending scroll is when I go on Instagram, the first thing I do is I click the Instagram banner on the upper left and I select following, and that filters out all the excess stuff that Instagram is really good at throwing at us to, again, hijack our attention. So I select just following, and that just shows me the people I'm following. It's showing me our clients. It's showing me the other authors that I am engaging with. And that is a big help in terms of slowing down that scroll, is making sure that you're only seeing the people that you're following. And that is something that has helped me break kind of that. I wouldn't say it's been a habit because I don't like social media. I don't go on there that often. So doom scrolling isn't really a bad habit of mine, but it does help focus my attention when I'm on there. So I'm going on, I'm saying I'm going to look at the people I'm following, I'm going to interact and engage with those people, and then I'm going to get off of here and I'm going to get on with my life. I know that Instagram, TikTok, social media in general, is also really good at making us not feel good about ourselves. It is such a powerful platform when it comes to comparing yourself to everybody else. We all know this. We've all, heard the videos and the podcasts and the TED Talks. Like, we know what this is. But it really does, at least for me, take a high level of awareness and a focused approach and intention when I am interacting with my social media, because I do not want to doom scroll. I do not want to get sucked in, and I certainly don't want to not be able to engage in my life or do the creative projects that are important to me because TikTok or Instagram is sucking all of my attention and all of my time and energy and creativity out. So that's a big one for me. I'm really glad that you asked that question, and I love that you mentioned procrastination and then you asked about doom scrolling, and I think in a way that answers many questions for many people, because I think we do have, not all of us, but I think many of us do have more time in our day than we might realize, but we have to be more intentional about where we're putting that time and also where we're putting our energy, because just because we have free time doesn't necessarily mean we have energy to do things, and social media might be sapping all of your energy out as well. It forces you to engage with things emotionally over and over and over again. And I personally am not built for that. I just cannot do it. It's not good for me, so I try to really avoid it. But if you are somebody who does struggle with doom scrolling, and if you do have tips for other people, I would love to see those in the comments down below. There might be other people who have better tips for you, people who have been more engaged with it and who have been able to pull back. But that is my approach to social media and kind of my 2 cents on it, and how I try to be intentional always when I am interacting with those social media platforms. Okay, so I got a couple questions answered. I think now I am going to finish my strawberry shake. I've been making these really delicious strawberry shakes. It's literally just 1 cup soy milk, or I make it for Greg and I. So 2 cups soy milk, 1 like really full cup of frozen strawberries, and 1.5 scoops of vanilla protein powder. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. We have one of these every single day now, and it's actually slightly warm. I'm like in a dress today and having a strawberry smoothie. I feel like I'm living in an alternate reality. We did have a blizzard this week though. We got like, I don't know how many inches we got. Somebody that lives down the road from us said that they got like a foot of snow. So it was quite a blizzard, but it has all melted and now it's warm. Anyway, I'm gonna finish my shake. I'm going to get myself another cup of water, and then I'm either gonna go exercise and then sit down to write. I think I might do that. I'm gonna exercise, then I'm gonna sit down to write, because I've been doing a lot of computer work today and it's now 1:45, so I need to take a break, and I will try to remember to check in with you when I'm sitting down to work on that chapter that I need to totally redo. And then this weekend we have to start formatting. So fingers crossed this chapter goes well, and then I can jump back to the end of the book where I was and finish those last few chapters. And then we'll be moving, like I said, into the formatting process. So thank you for your questions. I've gotten so many fantastic questions. I hope you're enjoying this video and my answers, and I will touch base with you again very soon. Bye. Hello friends, and happy Sunday. Today is Sunday, June 1st, and I cannot remember the last time I sat down and was working on this video. I feel like it's been at least 2 weeks, maybe more. So I don't know where we left off. I do know where we left off in terms of my Q&A, because I have a document here with the unanswered questions still on it. I don't know where we left off in terms of my book and where I was in the process, but I've finished it. So I think we may have still been in an editing stage. Maybe I was in the 3rd draft. I can't totally remember, but I finished 2 rounds of editing. It got all formatted. I did the proofread. The book came in yesterday, my author copy, the paperback. It looks beautiful, and it's coming out on Tuesday, June 3rd. So that is all totally squared away. This week I started writing book 2 in this series, and I'm about 7,000 words into it. I'm about to start chapter 4. We are still in act 1. So I do hope to start, some writing vlogs again. And this book, I think I'm going to slow the process down a bit, because my last 2 books, they were such a breakneck pace that I really need kind of the breathing room to just slow down, take my time, not feel like I have to write, 2,500 words every single day just to be hitting those deadlines, on top of doing all of my full-time editorial work as well. So that is where we're at. That book is totally done. It is out with ARC readers. The ARC process is going really well. And yeah, that comes out on Tuesday. So anyway, that is done. We will hopefully be moving into those writing vlogs, and I want to go ahead and wrap up this video by answering the rest of these questions. There is a storm rolling in, so you might hear some thunder in the background. Okay, let's go ahead and dive into the rest of these questions. Some of them will require like a separate video, because it would require so much to answer these questions. Some of them I will link to other videos I've filmed, and there might be some in here that I can actually sit and answer. So 2 of these questions are about outlining, asking if I can explain in more detail how I outline, how I plot and plan my novels, and what has changed from when you first published. So I do have a pretty recent outlining video. It is romance focused, but I do feel that even writers who don't write romance could learn and kind of like pull their own tips out of that. So if you want to watch that video and you haven't already, I will go ahead and link that down below. So what has changed from when I first published, when I was planning and plotting those novels? I would say the biggest thing is understanding emotional arcs and emotional beats and story beats. I have always been somebody who has struggled with outlining. It's not something that came naturally to me. I would say the actual writing itself, that came naturally to me. I have always enjoyed that. I think it's why I enjoy editing so much. I really like that kind of sentence level, line level approach, and that came easily to me. But outlining has never been easy. And when I first got Save the Cat Writes a Novel, that really opened my eyes and started teaching me about story beats, and now it's like I can't unsee them. And that has helped me a lot in terms of my planning and plotting and just like organizing of my stories. And it's also helped me to write faster, because if I know what I'm sitting down to write and I know what my intentions and goals are for each writing session, it's way easier for me to just sit there and write it, and I can get a lot more words onto the page. Versus like if I were a pantser, I feel like it would take me so long to write my books. You know, at this point I've kind of gotten it down to where I can write a book in 4 to 6 weeks, depending on how pressured I am and how, you know, what work is looking like and a few other factors. But I can write books really fast now, and I would say a big part of that is having that strong outline. But then, you know, we've talked about the other parts of it too, just doing it constantly, practicing it a lot, using those writing muscles. All of that has helped me to write my books much faster. But yeah, in terms of what has changed in regard to my plotting from when I first published to now, it's just a much deeper understanding of emotional beats and story beats. Okay, let's see. This question is fun. Could you summarize your writing and publishing timeline for all 8 of these books? I've lost track with how fast you've been publishing. I have lost track as well. What I can give you are the dates that I published my books, all these books. Okay, so at this point, I have a completed vampire trilogy. I have 1 book out in a contemporary romance series of, like, it's going to be a series of interconnected standalones. I have a complete 4-book quartet, like a cozy, witchy romance quartet, and then I have my newest book, which is the first book in a kind of cozy academia romance series, and that's coming out this Tuesday on June 3rd. So I don't know, without going back into my YouTube videos, that's how I keep track of everything these days is, well, my YouTube videos. I could also go back and look in my bullet journals, but that would take quite a bit of time. So I'm just going to give you the release dates for these books, starting with that first one, the first book in my vampire romance trilogy. I published that one October 17th, 2023, so that was my first book back after a 3 or 4 year hiatus. Book 2 in that trilogy was March 1st, October, November, December, January, March, so just under 5 months, and I think that was like my biggest gap, was just under 5 months. The next one was June 18th, and then July 23rd. July 23rd was my contemporary romance, and then my cozy witchy books. The first one was October 22nd, and then these books came out really close together because I originally thought they were going to be novellas, but I was shocked because books 3 and 4 ended up coming in at over 70,000 words. So October 22nd, 2024 was the first one, and then December 20th, 2024, February 11th, 25, April 4th of 2025, and now my next book coming out on Tuesday, that is June 3rd. So the last 4 books, those have all come out less than 2 months apart. So I've been pushing really hard to write these books, edit them, proofread them, you know, get them up for ARC readers, do the marketing, do all the things. And this is one of the reasons I've loved it, and I've learned so much. And I somehow have not burned myself out, and yet I also know that for this next book, I want to have the freedom to slow down, to explore, to meander, whereas the last 2 books I wrote, it was just like, get on that highway and just drive as fast as you can. And then once I had done that, those subsequent passes, those revision passes, that was my opportunity to kind of fill in the extra details. But for this book, book 2 in my Cozy Academia series, I do plan to slow down a little bit. I might be doing beta readers for it, but I'm not sure. We're gonna see kind of when I finish the first draft how I'm feeling about that. And then I do hope / plan to have the second book in my contemporary romance series out by the end of this year as well. So looking back, I typically have about 5 books out a year. So I had only 1 out in 2023, because that's when I started, and then 24 I had books 2 and 3 in the vampire romance, the contemporary, and then the first 2 books in my cozy witchy quartet. This year I've already published 2 books, February and April. I have one coming out in June, and then I'm planning to have a release somewhere around October and December. So about 5 books a year. So yeah, I've been pushing really hard to get these done. Also, would you be willing to discuss which ones have been most successful and why you think they might be the books that sell the best? So I think that there are many different factors that can go into this and how successful a book is. I would definitely say that my series are the most successful because I can get people into the first book and then hopefully funnel them through, you know, the next 2 or the next 3, depending on which series they kind of join me for. At this point, my Cozy Witchy series has become my most popular, and it's really lovely because I didn't necessarily expect that, and it's been great seeing that readers appreciate that too. It seems that there is a readership for cozy fantasy romance, so I have really enjoyed connecting with people over this, and now I feel like I'm kind of finding a niche here, and I really enjoy it. So yes, at this point, book 1 in that quartet has probably been the most successful in terms of how it sells and how many kind of new readers it brings in. And at this point, it has also overtaken book 1 in my romance trilogy in terms of number of reviews. So that book and that series are the most popular, and why I think those are selling the best. I'm working really hard on marketing. I am trying to learn how to do it. I'm trying to learn how to do it not only on social media, which I have struggled with over the past couple years, but I'm also trying to learn other avenues. And that has been a lot of kind of trial and error, patience, and just learning as I go. So I do think that if I hadn't been marketing and pushing that book as hard as I've been, it would not have overtaken the other, you know, series that I wrote, and I don't think it would be nearly as successful as it is. So there's definitely something to be said for writing the best book you can, but you can't forget that you have to learn how to market it, or else nobody's going to find it and nobody's going to read it. And that's something that I have been learning on this new kind of romance writer journey as well. Let's see, final questions. Do you have productivity tips, and how do you write and publish so quickly? So I think we have kind of covered this all already in some of the previous questions about how, I think we talked about burnout, you know, social media, doom scrolling, procrastination. So yeah, I think that we've pretty much already covered that one. Good question, but I think I answered it. Let's see, there are some questions that were a little bit more like personal questions, about people's own stories and stuff like that, which I love, but I don't think I have time in this video to really kind of expand on that. I have a feeling that this video is going to be so long already. So if you are somebody who sent me a question and I didn't answer it, it's either that I feel like it's going to take a lot of expansion and I probably just don't have time for it in this video, Or it might be that I pulled these questions a long time ago. I have not looked to see if there's any other questions that came in. And if that's the case, I apologize. Please always feel free to leave questions under my videos. I do pull questions from the comments when I find them, and I try to remember to answer those in the next video that I film. But at this point, I guess I can say that I've officially finished this Q&A. I have no idea how long this video is going to be, probably incredibly long, but I like really long videos, so hopefully you do too. So yes, thank you again for sending in your questions. I hope you got something valuable out of my answers. Again, let me know if you have questions in the comments down below. Moving forward, we're going to be working on book 2 in this Cozy Academia series. And yeah, I guess we'll just see where I go from there. Summer is here. My gardening is going well. I'll have to take you out into the garden in the next video. I built another garden bed. I'm growing a few different things, maybe just 1, 2 different things this year than I did last year. 3 different things in the garden are different this year from last year. So I do think I want to take you out there probably in my next vlog, and we'll see how everything's going. I have a family reunion next weekend, so that should be nice. It should be fun. It's going to be up here in the area where we kind of live, so that'll be really convenient for us. Horses are doing well, cats are doing well, Greg and I are doing well. I hope all of you are doing well. Thank you so much for hanging out with me and for watching this video, and I really look forward to seeing you in my next one. Keep writing. Try not to get discouraged. I know that this is such a difficult creative field to be in, but especially when you're trying to turn it into a financially viable field as well. So if you're somebody out there who's feeling frustrated or overwhelmed, or just like you're grinding day in and day out, I get it. I am in that as well. I'm right there with you. And let's just keep writing together. So again, thank you so much for being here and for joining me, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.